Thank you all for your good wishes of happy birthday. I'm so excited. 52, and we are in page 52. Whew. Isn't Hashem beautifully smiling to us? Ben Zahar. So we definitely have to go over the Braisa that I read too quickly yesterday. We are in Nun Beis Amud Aleph, restarting from Gufa. Now we're going to read it nice and slow. I prepared it with my Havarusa. Gufa. So what is the topic at hand? We are talking here about the money, kesef. If one has a selah, if a person has a selah is the highest coin, the most valuable coin in the times of Chazal. I don't have the chart now of the selah dinar or more, but we only have one part of it. If a person gave a selah to the shop and the selah is missing something, what's called something, if the selah has eroded, it's chipped, and therefore has less weight, less value. Yeah, if this is the selah, this is the one big coin called selah. If the selah is 100% shalom, 100% intact, what's the problem? If it's anywhere between 100% and whatever is, right? In other words, either 1/24th, 1/12th, or 1/6th. Yeah? Machlokes Tanoim. Anywhere between a full coin and a coin that's a little bit chipped, yeah, let's say 8%, Russo told me is 1/12th, yeah, I trust you and him. So then that coin can still be sold as half. This is still as full. You can still give it, the Rishonim say, yeah, all the way here, it's still considered as an entirely good coin. And if I get a schor, it says in the shop one selah, I can still use it as one selah. The person who receives it is not allowed to have any akpoda, any say on the matter. Once we hit, I would do that as a red line. Once we hit the, excuse my finger, a red line of the oino, let's say once it has reached the oino realm, then listen carefully. I'm allowed to keep the coin, but be honest with the other person and pay for it for its weight. We know that the coins in the times of Chazal, they were worth the actual weight. So I can tell the person, if I owe you an entire selah, let's say an entire selah is what is now let's say it is the 24 is 40 normal, that's 100 of today's shekel, 100%. Yeah. If I have anywhere between here and a half, as we're going to see in the Braisa, if I give him a coin that is missing, that is chipped, I can give it to the shopkeeper as long as I tell him and I inform him of how much it weighs, how much it is. Yeah, even if it doesn't have scales, I have to tell him this is worth not 100, but 94, 92, 87, v'chule. Yeah, and accordingly, I can keep the coin and pay accordingly. Keep the coin. Yeah, the coin is not treif. Keep the coin, but pay lefi the value according to value. You pay according to its real value. Yeah, use it according to its real value. Yeah, the value is however much it's worth. You go down. That's a pashup shot. Once we reach a half a coin, then there's a different story. But let's not jump ahead and let's see everything nice and slow, as quick as it was yesterday. Today we're going to look at it very nicely. I'm in an expansive mood. Baruch Hashem.
Are you talking just a very small chip or a very large chip to you in a circle? Just a small
It's chipped. No, it's chipped. I don't mean that it's eroded. It's smaller. It's smaller all around. It's the whole thing got smaller and smaller, shrunk, not shrunk. So not chipped. Call it eroded. It's worn. It's worn. It's worn. Eroding. I said eroding.
Full weight shekel, say, is 100 grams.
Exactly.
I understand all that.
Okay. So maybe I shouldn't have used the word chip. Said eroded. I said eroded. Weiter. Okay. Omarove. Gufa. Ad kama te'aseh chasera. Line starts with the word tehe. Up to what point is the selah, the big selah, should be missing the yebaino? At what point did we reach the red line and we said it's been eroded, that it makes a difference, and you cannot really give it to the shop, and the shopkeeper will say, excuse me, that's oino, I need an entire selah, and you gave me less, and it's a point that cannot be looked already looked over, can't be ignored. As we said, a three-facet machlokes in the Mishnah. Rabbi Meir omer arba isorois. Four is, you have to have the chart, by the way. I hope you all printed it. We have to have the chart, okay? Sadam pap yagudu, which means which means arba isorois, four isorim out of what? Out of an entire selah, which is the same as one isar ledinar. That is 1/24th. Yeah, 1/24th. Yeah, because isar, we have dinar, then we have the other one, we have the, selah shekel, we have selah dinar, then afterwards we have isar, yeah, at pundion, I mean an isar, and isar is 1/24th of a dinar. Bekitzer, Rabbi Meir says, when did you hit the problematic point where the receiver of the money cannot just ignore it and demands, pay me accordingly, don't give me full payment with something that's not full? I know that is once it's less in 24th. I don't care, by the way, how it happened, if it was chipped or if it was eroded. I'm sorry, whatever. The mice, it's 24th less, either thinner, whatever. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, Dalid Pundinios, 4 Pundinios out of a selah, which is also pundion the dinar, 1 pundion out of a dinar, and that is 1/12th. 1/12th. Says Rabbi Yehuda, 1/12th is the shear. Yeah, 1/12th less, that is 8%, I think. Yeah. And therefore, if you reach that point, that's already, you can keep it and give it, but be honest with the receiver and give it to him, not as a full coin, but as a coin that's been chipped, that's been missing. Rabbi Shimon Omer. Rabbi Shimon is the most, I can't say Mekel or Machmir, depends who you ask, the giver, the receiver. Rabbi Shimon has the biggest number. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Shmoine Pundunios, 8 Pundunios out of a selah, which are the same as Shnei Pundion the dinar, 2 Pundion of a dinar, which is a 6th. 1/6, the same thing as all other, that's the shear. So this red line over here, that's, it's either 1/24th, 1/12th, or 1/6. Okay, Beseder. That's, so from here till here, that still can be looked at as full payment. This is full payment. Yeah, that is full. That is good until here. Once we hit that point, from here downwards, yeah, what do we say? We're going to change that later. You can use it, but use it accordingly. Yeah, in other words, the matbes in the times of Chazal were very, very different to today. Yeah, it's like you have a bag of potatoes and you pay lefi the potato like a barter. Yeah, the lesser the coin, lesser the value. You just have to be honest with the receiver, with the recipient of the coin. Yeser al ken. Oh, the Braisa says it. Why am I talking? The Braisa says, Yeser al ken. By the way, every line you're almost in machlokes. Yeser al ken, the way I explained it to you now, if it's more than that, meaning what? Missing more. We go down, down, down. The coin has been missing and eroding and chipping and schmipping more and more. Sell it for its value. Just sell it per the value. Give the coin, yeah, pay according to the value, and all is good. We can keep it. Now, Ad kama tipoches v'yerashai lekaima. Up to what point is going to be missing, eroding, chipping, schmipping, everything, and you can still keep it and it's not a problem. The selah ad shekel. If the matbaya is a selah, then until it reached the point of shekel, this is half. Maybe should have made a horizontal line. This is half. Yeah, this is half. A shekel is half the selah. Once it reached half, you can still keep it and use it as a shekel, which means selah divided to 2 shekel. So if the entire coin is shrunk to be half of its original size, mazel tov, from a selah, it became a shekel, and at that point, it's still okay. So what was the problem yesterday about lying and cheating? That's the next point. Wait. The dinar ad roiva. If the original coin was dinar, which is quarter of a selah, then a quarter of a dinar, or so we think now, that is the point, that's the cutoff point, that from then onwards you're not allowed to keep it. Now, poches mikan. Now, let's now pause, and I'll tell you, because here the Gemara doesn't say. Now, Torah Shabbat Peh. I don't have time now to read the whole Rashi, so I'm saying it Baal Peh. And I'll explain better what I meant yesterday. What happens if it's less than half? Less than half? Ooh, boom, boom, boom. No way. Usher, forbidden. Don't keep it. Terrible. Yeah, forbidden. Yeah. Also to keep a coin, throw it away, or don't throw it, make a tachshit out of it. If it's less than a shekel, you're not allowed to keep it in your house. Why? Because, explains Rashi, and he'll explain it better than yesterday, Bezos Hashem. When you have a coin that is a selah minus significant amount, meaning this area, this realm over here, then we say it's easy for everybody to realize this is not a selah. It's a selah minus. It's a missing selah, eroded, chipped, or whatever you want to call it. Buyer and seller will realize, especially the one receiving the money will realize. However, if the coin was a big fat coin, as Rashi calls it, the be'av the gadol, yeah, it was originally a selah, and now it's less than a shekel, yeah, people will not realize it's less than a shekel, they'll still think it's a shekel. Because the size is big, it was originally a selah, it's hard to detect and realize that it's shekel minus, and the person will have Yetzer Hara to give it as a real shekel. It's misleading. It's a less than shekel in disguise of a shekel. That's why less than selah, not only you should not, don't keep it and pay accordingly, throw it in the garbage, or if you want to recycle, then use it as a tachshit for your son's neck or your daughter's neck. Because which means if it was originally shekel, which is a smaller coin, right? Half a selah. If half a shekel erodes or whatever, becomes small, that's not a problem. Shekel is thinner and smaller to begin with. But if something was big, somehow, I've never seen a selah in my life, maybe in some archaeology museum, the big selah, even if it's half a shekel, less than a shekel, which is half a selah, give you the optical illusion as if it is a shekel, because of the big size that it started, the thickness or something like that, Rashi says. Mimela, that coin is treif, because that coin, you may mislead people with that, or you may not. You Khalila may come to mislead people, be meshaker, and that is also. That is really most of it in a nutshell. Now, Tochas mikan isar osu. This line drives it more crazy later. A very, very strange line, stuck here in the middle. It says, if it's one isar less, then it's osur. Believe me, that will be discussed later. It's a whole small, but not so easy sugya later on. It says a very esoteric, funny line, kivyachol, less, isar less in isar less in what? Why isar? That will be discussed. Now, you know how much is an isar? Shall we say dinar? Yeah. So selah, dinar, right? Isar is not all the, yeah. It's the smallest above pruta. Yeah, it's above pruta, but it's the smallest of the one we're talking. Okay. Harei zeloim kerena. Let's continue now. That treifene matbea, the one that is now, that looks like less than half a selah, which looks like less than a shekel, that's dangerous because it looks like a shekel. Don't sell it lo letagar. Maybe I would say, listen, I won't keep it, but I don't want to waste money. I need money to feed my kids. You know what I'm going to do? I'll sell it for the right money, for the right price. I'm an honest guy. I'll just sell it to the wrong guy. I'll sell it to the tagar. And the tagorim, they are business people. They are sly. Don't sell it to the tagar. V'lo lecharam. Charam is the person who forces money out of people. Anas, not anas like in modern Hebrew, which is something else. He's a person who's like a ganav, or not a ganav. He's a bandit, in-your-face guy. V'lo leharag. That's a person mamish who kills. Mamish rotzeach. Not a person who takes money, a person who kills for killing. Yeah. Don't give that coin the less than shekel, which is really looking like a shekel. Don't give it to them, or don't even sell it to them for fair price. You know, the mafiosos, they make fair deals, business fair. Because they would lie with it to other people. The tagar is a swindler, and the harag and the other guy, the murderer, what does murder have to do with stealing money? Well, people are scared of him. Yeah, if a known murderer manages to run away from the police all the time, the police doesn't touch him because he's the best friend of the main policeman usually. Yeah, then in certain countries, Mimela, you're scared of him. So if you give him the bad coin, he'll give it to people, and they'll be scared to refuse. So Mimela, don't do anything with it except for Ella. What you should do with it, Yikvena, perforate it, make a hole, bore a hole. And put it and hang it like a nice necklace. Birthday gift. That's not what I'm asking for my birthday, but give the boy or the girl and matana, a perforated coin, which nobody can use, right? Like an asimon, and hang it in their tzavar, so that will be their tachshit, and everybody knows that's not used as money anymore. Adkan the Braisa. Frag the Gemara, Omar Mar, Besela ad shekel, bedina ad roiva. When is it treif? I'm not doing both pictures. I trust your intelligence. Selah, when do you say selah becomes treif and just use it as a tachshit and make a hole ASAP? You're not allowed to have such a thing in your house. That's when it shrunk to below half, which is below shekel. By a dinar, a quarter of a dinar. By a dinar, let's say the entire coin here. Imagine yourself that this was a dinar, which is a quarter, and the whole story happened to a dinar. If the dinar shrunk to a quarter of a dinar, not half, then it's possible and treif, and we're scared of it. Frag the Gemara, Fararus, Maishna besela ad shekel. Why is it besela when it reaches below? Ad is a very misleading word. Ad bichlal, you keep it, but below ad, when it's below shekel, which is half a selah, then then it's treif. Umayshna bedinar ad roiva. Why bedinar? Well, only when it's a quarter of the dinar, then we are concerned, right? Answers the Gemara, no. Omar Abaye, you misunderstood the whole story. My roiva diktani. You know what does roiva mean? Not a quarter of a dinar. Nami, it also means roiva shekel, a quarter of a shekel. What is a quarter of a shekel? Obviously, half a dinar. Even I understand that, yeah? In other words, instead of talking normal and saying half a dinar, it's really half a dinar, but we use as a measuring rod, use the shekel instead a quarter of a shekel. Omar Rove, and I must admit that this Rove, I still, shame on my head, dikduk is my turf, and I still don't chap Rove. Omar Rove says, Rove daikanami, it's also meduyak. In other words, I agree with you, Abaye, and I think that the fact that we're not talking about a quarter, but rather of a half, is mashma from the words, the katani, it says roiva v'lo katani revia, shmamino. Because it says roiva and not revia, I guess revia is a quarter of what we have in front of us. That's not it. It's roiva, which is a quarter of a bigger amount. I guess I'm willing to hear the art scroll even, yeah, whatever. But Harabah says that grammatically speaking makes more sense. If you come up with an art scroll explanation, good. Yeah. Rov is a quarter, and Ravia is a fourth. Good. It doesn't say a quarter of what we have in front of us. It's a fourth of the bigger amount. Whatever. So, it's a smaller coin.
Quarter
is a noun. Is a noun. Yeah. Not relative to other things. That. Thank you. There is a coin which is half a dinar, which Rashi says is called selah medina, which is half a dinar and a quarter of a shekel, and that's an entity by itself. Yeah, every dinar also have to have called selah medina. They're not mentioned in our chart. Selah medina, which by the way is an eighth of a real selah, if you follow the math. Yeah, which is very good. That's selah tzuri. Selah tzuri is the fancy, expensive one. And selah medina is eighth of it, which is half a dinar. And a dinar is a quarter of a selah. Now the question is, leave the numbers alone. Why can't the Braisa speak normal? Frag the Gemara, dinar b'shekel. Why confusing us? When you talk about half a dinar, can't you just say half a dinar, right? Why are you telling me, right, a quarter of a shekel, which is really half a dinar? Yeah, why mixing us up? Just say half a dinar, and I'll understand clearly, and would it be out of the confusion? Answers the Gemara, answers the Gemara, it's coming to tell me another halacha, b'derech agav. By the way, we want to learn another relevant halacha. Yeah, the ika dinar, the ati mishekel. A dinar, sometimes a dinar, the big dinar, the regular dinar, sometimes comes from a shekel, which means what happens if a shekel erodes, and gets into half a shekel? What happens then halachically? Let's see now. Rabbi Ami, says Rabbi Ami, dinar haba mishekel mutar l'kaimai. A dinar that was originally a shekel, How much did the shekel erode? How much is the shekel? How much do we take away from the shekel? Half, right? And we reached a dinar. That's allowed. You're allowed to keep that by you. Why? A shekel was not a big, fat, thick, big coin to begin with. It was relatively small. And therefore, if it's now a shekel, it became a dinar, it was halved, you got lower and got to a half, then you can, if once it's less than half, you can tell it's less than half. You don't have that optical illusion, that confusion. As opposed to dinar haba selah, what happens when we have big selah? Selah is the big scary one. Selah gives you, because it's thicker in width and thickness, it always gives the impression of being bigger than it really is. So dinar haba selah, let's say selah eroded up to what? Down to 3/4 and down to 1/4 of it, right? And it became, the selah became a dinar. Yeah, what a fall. Also lekaimoi. Even then, you're not allowed to be a kayim, because why? Because it looks bigger than really is. It looks like a full dinar and not dinar minus. And therefore it's also, that's what we mentioned shekel vis-a-vis dinar, to give us the whole picture of a bigger coin eroding into a much smaller coin, half of the smaller coin, and saying at that point it's also. I assume that a shekel that became half a dinar, right, is what, as we said, strafe. Because a shekel vis-a-vis half a dinar, I assume, is already too much of a difference. And you may think it's bigger than it really is. Or the Gemara doesn't say that, but I assume that's the story. So far, so good. Questions, comments? Weiter? South Korea, North Korea? Yeah. You don't know about North Korea yet. We get there sometimes. Sometimes we run to North Korea and then we're back to liberty. Yeah. We're the coins had a melech. Yeah, we said a simon. A simon is a coin that doesn't have an inscription. However, there's always a game. It's always like I never hopped it 100% right exactly, but it's always a balancing act between the weight and the actual value that the king gave it. In other words, you had to have both. You had to have weight, and also you had to have a valid, stamp of the king that makes it in circulation. You had to have both. Yeah. Obviously. No, you're giving him something that's wrong. No, he's a shopkeeper. No, he's not a shulchani, by the way. I can hear a question about shulchani, which is a banker. If you go to the regular market and you give it to the girl who sells apples, why should she know better than you? You are the one who gave the wrong kind of coin. I'm not talking about responsibility, but definitely the person who got the coin that is too small, right? Let's say you owe an entire selah and you gave something that's below, you gave the wrong coin. You're the one who actually acted the wrong way and you gave, yeah, it is your responsibility. Below oino, oino. Aleph Vav Nun Aleph Hey. I write so much English here. Not Hano. Oino is the opposite of Hano. No, we say no, depends. You missed the beginning of the sugya. No. Yeah, if it is more than 6, right? Here it's not so simple, by the way. But when it comes to goods, right? If I bought a sweater that's supposed to be what, 600 shekels, and how much did the guy charge me? 800 shekels. I'll go back to the shop and halachically, what am I allowed to do as an irate customer? Cancel the whole deal. Cancel the entire deal. Very good. It's not a mekach toast, but it's a. I think so too. I don't like to call it mekach toast. Mekach toast means you sell me a box. In the box, instead of sufganiya, there is a parrot, whatever. Completely. That's mekach toast. Yeah, Mashenkin here is just very wrong price. So I don't know if the word mekach toast is exactly in place, but it's similar because you cancel the deal. There's a common denominator. But I like what. The peanut gallery wisdom from behind is like the spirit is with us. Okay, weiter. Yeah, good. Okay, now we have a sugya, short. It was a real killer to get to understand it. Baruch Hashem, there's different explanations here. Rashi is very unclear. Ritva, Tosfos. Baruch Hashem, Mechavrus and I came to some kind of understanding, and I hope Hashem is giving me the right words. It's not difficult to understand once I explain it to you. You're getting the final result. But I'm saying, I hope what I'm saying now is B'siyata D'Shmaya right. Says the Gemara, Pochas mikan isar osu. Oh, that was in the middle of this Braisa, which is generally understandable. There was this weird line saying if it's less than Isar, or if it's one Isar less than what? Then it's Osir. Also not so clear Osir to what? Is it Osir to keep it, or Osir to give it as a full selah? Right? There are two issues here. From here to here, you can only pay, you can only pay according to value. And it's Osir to give that coin, in this middle of the road area. Can't give it as a full coin. You can keep it in your house as long as you're honest with the seller. This one below half, treif, perforate it right now and put it in your daughter's neck, right? Now, if it's an Isser less, then it's Osir. Frag the Gemara, Maika Omar. According to the Ritva, the question Maika Omar is the way I'm presenting it to you now. What do you mean Isser less? Are you trying to say Isser less than what? Isser less than the maximum? Isser less than Oino? Or Isser less than a half? Isser minus what? What would you like to call, where do you pin it? Right? And many of them won't make sense, as we'll see. Omar Bai Hachik says, but this is what he says. Selah, if the selah has already reached the point of Oino, it's let's say less 6, 12, 24, you go down one more Isar, which is not much. An Isar, right, vis-a-vis the selah is 1/24th. If you go another Isar, then you're not allowed to give it, to sell it, to give it as a full selah. Says the Gemara, Mapitom, that's wrong. Amar Lerove, how can he say that? If so, afilu mashu nami. No, Mapitom. Once we reach below that point, below the red point, below the even a little bit, you're not allowed to give as if it's full. Not why are you adding another Isar to give him more leeway, more mechitesi, right? That's Poshup Pshat in Rashi. Ella Omarove, therefore Rava disagrees with Abaye and adds two words. It makes all the difference. Selah, if the selah is missing, listen carefully. Isar ledinar. Isar out of a dinar. How much is an Isar out of a dinar? That's 1/24th. An Isar out of a dinar, which means if from an entire selah you're missing one, it's a 6. Isar ledinar is 1/6. Is 1/24th. Isar ledinar Saddam Pat. No, much further. Excuse me, 24th. Sorry. Then it's Osir, which means we're talking between the full amount and we're measuring the actual Oino, and we're paskening that the Shiur Oino, which is here, the Shiur Oino is how much from the maximum until 24th less, and that is who? The Stomo Rabbi Meir. Very good. We basically pasken like Rabbi Meir. We want to tell the Braisa wants to say there are three opinions, all very nice. Halacha paskens like Rabbi Meir that says 1/24th is the size, is the shear of the actual and down to that you can sell it normal, as if it's full, right? Here you can treat it as a full coin. Once you reach 1/24th less, that you get into trouble because we pasken like Rabbi Meir. Easy. Okay? Yes.
The erosion of a coin.
I want to say something else. Okay, you were before me.
I can see because
Thank you. Oh, that's a birthday gift from Ellen. Very noble of you. Very choshev gentleman. You're way better than the royal family, which doesn't say much, but you're better than that. Daitel, listen to this. Mechavrusan had a question, and this morning I saw it in the Ritva. Did it occur to you, if you say that below half is a problem, right? Because maybe he'll give it as a real shekel, and it's really less than shekel. You tell me, everybody should tell me, or anybody should tell me, if it's less than shekel, really, but it's less than less. In other words, it's not as much as, let's say, 1/12 or 1/24, 1/6. Is that a problem? L'chayr or not? It shouldn't be. B'diuk, it's mechila. The Ritva says that's what Rava says. I told you a different sheet is here. Rava says we're not talking here, we're talking here. When it's below half, says Rava, at that point, it's only a problem to keep it while it's half shekel, meaning minus an Isar. Then throw it in the garbage or perforate and put by your son or daughter. But if you still have the margin between half, meaning shekel, to less than then it's still okay. I was happy to see, according to the Ritva, that's a discussion, and that's what Rava says. Not even explanations here. Why not? Oh, the words of the Gemara. You're welcome to read the Ritva with me. Huge pieces. It explains exactly what. No, when you look in the Gemara inside and you see exactly the words, that's not true. Pochsa selah isa ladina. From where? Rava doesn't say where from. I translate it one way. You were brainwashed by me. Rava says pochsa. What's pochsa? The hef. If the hef, the Gufa arguing, where do you pin the isar? That statement of the Braisa, where do you pin that minus isar? Says Rava, don't pin it there. It's not a chiddush. Pin it over here. Pochsa, the hef. Selah isa ladina, then it's also. You know, it fits in absolutely. Yes.
On a coin, the devotion, not 100%.
Weiter. Good point. I like those questions that just make us clarify it even better. Shnan Hosam. It says over there in the Mishnah in Tyrus, in Kalim, I think. Selah shenifsala. Let's say there's a selah that was nifsala. And a nifsala over here, bepashtus means a selah that disqualified, wasn't completely disqualified. It's what I just told Ellen now. It's the selah that is not a selah anymore. It's a selah minus X. And you can use it in the market as long as you tell everybody, hey, Mr. Apple vendor, this is selah minus X. No problem. Now, selah shenif selah, I mean, the pashtus, that's what it means. Let me just check if I'm right, or it's talking about selah, which is below. No. Let's see. Selah shenif selah, I think that's what we're talking about. Selah shenif selah, v'itkina, yeah. Sheshokel b'mishkolois tmeya. Let's say that selah, now he says, I don't use it as a selah anymore, right? Now, I don't think I was right now, actually, when I come to think of it. If the selah can still be used in the market, you'd probably use it, right? L'choira. That brings me to another question later on in the Gemara. Let's say the selah is completely disqualified, meaning it's less than half, right? Treif. What can you do with it? You can use it, you can change its form a little bit, do something, and according to Torah, you either change the form or just dedicate it and use it as a weight, right? People, I remember as a child in Israel, maybe in Anglo countries more advanced, but when I was a child in the 70s, there were no electric things in Israel. The scales, they used real scales with real metal pieces. You remember those? Balance scales, mamish like Yomi Rosh Hashanah. You'd see it in front of your eyes, a kilo, half a kilo. As a kid, they would, play with it. Pounds, it's called Beseder. Yeah, how's it called? Weight stones, scale stones. So you can take the selah and use it as a weight for your scales, and that is okay. But you should know, because you made it into a kli, because now it's not a coin anymore. It's a kli. It's a vessel. It's an item to be used as weight. It's tmeya. Midin hilchas tuma v'tara. It's now susceptible to receive tuma, which means if a coin is touched by sheretz, it's not tuma. That's a chiddush. If the coin is transformed now because it's possible, now you made it into a paperweight or a scales weight, then it's called a kli. Now, if it's touched by a dead rodent, then it's tuma. Ad kama tipoches v'yerasher lekaima. Oh, up until what point can it go down, and you're still allowed to keep it? Yeah. Lesela shnei dinorim. How much is shnei dinorim? In one simple word, shekel. If it was a selah, down to a shekel, you're allowed to use it. And by the way, now you could say that he's using it as a paperweight or as a scales, and it's okay to use it, even if it didn't distort it, even if it didn't chip it. It doesn't have to do anything. In other words, I can use the selah, which is between full and half, or as long as it's more than below half, it's okay to use it as a weight, and I don't have to do even anything. Tosa says you don't dafka have to perforate to do anything, and that's still kosher. Pochas miken. Oh, what happens if it's reached below half, meaning below a shekel? Originally it was a selah. Danger zone. That is misleading. That is, you have optical illusions there. Yokutz, says Rashi strongly, you take scissors, you cut it into half. Not scissors, whatever. Take an axe, cut it into half. What do you do with the old passport in America? In Israel, they cut the corner. Yeah, make sure that it looks puzzle, and it's puzzle. Cut the what's his name? You do with the coins in Shemitah, and also in the 4th year of Meiser. The coin of the Meisers, that's what you have to do. You take a hammer and you mamish deform it. Yeah, you deform it, and that's what you have to do. Rock rega. Yet now, I'm so sorry. I feel so bad to do this to you. But all the beautiful things we said up until now, according to one opinion, are going to completely change. We're going to have now a complete change, legamre, according to one opinion, from everything we've been seeing till now. Zog the Gemara, Yeser al Ken, what about if it's more than half? What did I tell you all the time? If it's below selah, but the size of the original selah that's eroded is more than a shekel, what did we say? Keep it as long as you're honest and you tell people how much it's worth. Listen to this. Rabbi Ami Omar Pochas Omar Avuna. Yes, I'll ken mai. What's Allah if it's more than half? Omar Avuna Pochas Mikan Yokutz. Yes, I'll ken Yokutz. Wow. If it's more than half, says Rav Huna, you also have to cut it. You have to maybe perforate and use it as your kid's thing. He sees, Rav Huna sees, the entire area between here and here is treif. Rav Huna would put one big extra over here. You're not allowed to use it. He would say you can only allow to use a selah or a selah that eroded a little bit down to sticks. Once it's below, below, throw it in the garbage. And somehow, if you only have half, like it eroded in one go, it was cut in one go to half, then that half you're allowed to keep, and below half you're not allowed to keep. In other words, Rav Huna says only full matbeos, only a whole selah, not whole seller, whole selah, or a little bit less. Less than that, treif. He's concerned that people would confuse this area also. That dark gray area between a full selah and half a selah, people may confuse that also to be a whole selah or not get the numbers right. Get that out of your system. You can only use a full selah or half a selah, which is a full shekel. But anything below or above is treif. And you can't use it bichlal. 1 second, thank you, Baruch. Rabbi Ami Omar, Rabbi Ami is our man. Rabbi Ami is traditional. And he says, Pachas mikan yokutz. Less than a shekel, less than half a selah, cut it, treif. That's misleading. Why? It came from a very big coin. And people won't really see that it's half a shekel, they'll think it's a shekel. Yes, al ken yekayim. But if it is more than that, which means the entire gray area here between half and almost whole, you can keep the whole thing as long as you're honest with the people, because a selah is big and the erosion wasn't less than half. You don't have the big dichotomy between a huge selah and less than half, which is less than a shekel. So Mimela, that area, people would know. People would realize it's a selah minus X, selah minus 1, selah minus 25 and a half, and that's okay. So that is that. So Rav Huna is completely different. Rav Huna says the only kosher coin besides selah is when selah became a shekel, mamish half. But anything above or below, is already treif, also above shekel, because between selah and a shekel, people may still mix up and confuse with an entire selah. And that's where Rav Huna says everything is treif except for a whole or half, nothing in between. It's only. You have one question because I like you, although we are finishing the Macy. Yeah. We're not learning Torah. A definition of a kli, we can have a long Metzia machlokes Rashi Tosfos. No, a Metzia is not a kli, and I'll tell you why. Because you're a nice guy, I'll tell you why kli or a dog are not kelim. Kli is something, as we did mention it, I think, when we learned Chalipin, although it's a machlokes and issues about each one of the items I mentioned, but generally speaking, a kli is not anything that I can just use. A Metzia is not really used, doesn't have any use except for a symbolic thing. As we said, remember we said Metzia cannot be chlipin? Metzia is not really, doesn't have its own intrinsic value. You can't eat it, drink it, or do anything with it unless you meyachad it. Metzia is good and it's worth $100 coin, if such a thing exists, or a note, $100, because the government of America decided that this note is kosher. Once they decide it's not kosher, not out of circulation, it's not. That's not a kli. A kli is something that can be physically used and was produced and manufactured in order to be physically used with its physical qualities. Of course, coins are produced and minted. I know that, and they're worth a lot, and people run for the money and kill for money. But the money itself is not used for its own purpose as a physical thing. It's used as a symbolic thing. I don't know, you don't like that word, but it symbolizes Yeah, if every apple costs $1, that one note, who's in $100? Washington, whoever's the Franklin, Rabbi Yomi Franklin, his picture with $100 represents 100 apples or represents, I don't know, ice cream. That's what it is. Same thing. Okay, I'm trying not to divert you. What? That's why a coin is mukta on Shabbos. Thank you. I wanted to say that. Very misleading. People think a coin is mukta like a pen or a pencil. That's not true. Pen and pencil are kli shemalachta leisur. It's a kli made in probably China in order to use its very physical qualities, right? And because the main use is ksiva, is malacha, that's why it's mukta. That's one mukta. A coin is mukta like a stone. A stone from Parka alone and a very nice fancy coin, lemaisa, funny enough, are the same. None of them was manufactured to use its quality. I can use a stone for many things, yeah, or the coin also, but I'm not using. Coin wasn't made in order to. Excuse the example. Let's say somebody wants to scratch his head with a coin or scratch the lottery ticket. You can't do that, but it wasn't produced for that purpose. That's really the last question for. I'm giving you my birthday gift. Yeah. A coin is machmas gufay. Exactly. That's a halakhic term. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Right there. Basically, now the question are going to pour down on who? On Rav Huna. Rav Huna changed everything we knew. And the pshat of the Braisa. Rav Huna says this entire realm, this entire zone between full selah and half a selah is treif. Throw it in the garbage or perforate. Meisivi, oh, now look at that. It says in the Braisa outright, next page, Yeser al ken moicher b'shavyo. It says if it's more, I'm sorry, we understood more means what? It's eroded more. There's more erosion, more erosion. You can moicher b'shavyo, sell it as long as you sell it for the fair value. My love, shepachso yoisem likdeon also. We're talking that it lessened, became less and less than the oino, than the red line here. Yeah, says the Gemara. Lo, that's of course not like Rav Huna. You see, you're allowed to use it. Don't throw it in the bin. Says him lo yesera. It means more. The akati loy pachsa b'chdeon also. Then moicher b'shavyo. Yeser al kain. What's yeser al kain? More. More means more what? Says you know more means yeser al kain means this way. If it's more than oino, more this way, more value, you can sell it, yeah, you can sell it, you can sell it for the real value, and the shavya is an entire selah, and below that, treif. That's what Rav Huna says. Anywhere below the level of oino, garbage. Meisivi. Another question, even stronger, ledaiti. Ad, what does the word until mean? If I say I'm doing X from now till tomorrow, from here till, it means everything else included, right? True. Exactly. Yeah, I'm not even telling advad bichlal, right? I'm saying I'm gonna now, I don't know, dance and sing in honor of whatever, what? Until tomorrow. That means all the time until. So how do you explain, Rav Huna, the following statement of the Braisa? Ad kama tipochet, up to, until, up to what point it erodes and goes less, the erashe lekaima, and you're still allowed to keep it. The selah ad shekel. In a selah, you can keep it until until it reached the bad point of what? Of shekel. My love, aren't we talking the poch is purta, that it's slowly, bit by bit, slowly, yeah, one bit at a time, then it slowly went down, and during this process, I was allowed to sell it, and Rav Huna said, I'm not allowed to sell it then for any price, I have to throw it. Answers Gemara loy, and ukimta, the nofil lenura, it fell into the fire, the coin, very strong fire, the coin was weak, and it melted. Ifchus bechad zimna, in one time, in one go, I thought that's what you maybe meant, in one go, from whole, it became a half. Then I'm allowed to keep the half, right? And I'm not allowed to keep below the half, right? But the entire time, if it happens slowly, then it's strafe. The second it erodes and gets less than selah minus oino, at that point, if you're Rav Huna, get the drill, honey, get me the drill. And you drill it and you bore a hole and you just don't, it's not available, any bechla, not accessible, I'm sorry, as a coin. Now, more on the same subject. So we said a very original, creative solution. Make a hole, bore a hole, and put it on your as a necklace, nice necklace for your son or daughter. We see a Braisa that says otherwise. Lo yasena, that bad coin, don't make it mishkal ben mishkaloisov. Oh, which means once it reached below half, who's the Cholukun Ravuna? Lefi Rabbi Ami. Yeah. Once it's really bad, you're not allowed to use it even as a weight. Why? You may have a Sahara, you really need cash. You're going to take that weight without changing the form. You'll take the weight from the scale and use it. So don't use it there. Mishkal ben Mishkaloisov. Ben Grutoisov. Did I tell you to throw it in the garbage? No. Well, I shouldn't. Don't throw it between the grutaot, the chip, the shards. Don't throw it between all your shards and broken pieces because somebody can take it out of the garbage. You know, people, that's their profession. They pick from the garbage and they find nice stuff. Did you hear that? You're not allowed to perforate. Don't make the hole and hang it on your son or daughter as a necklace. We just said you are allowed to. Now saying you're not allowed to. That's a stira. Ella, what's the only thing you should do? And that relates to what Baruch said before. Oy yishchoik. You can either grind it completely, mamish grind it and pulverize it, yeah, or yitoich, melt it, or yokut, just cut it into half with a chisel, with a hammer, just cut it, or yolich le'amamelach, your next trip to the Dead Sea, throw it in Yamamelach. Nowadays, throw it in the toilet if it flushes, excuse me. Yeah, in any event, we see what? We see that you're not allowed to perforate it, yeah, and hang it by your son or daughter. Why? Or why is there a stira? One time we say yes and we say no. Amar blozo, the Amrila, and some say Rav Huna Amar blozo, some say Rav Huna quote Rav blozo. Lokash, it's not difficult. There's perforation and there's perforation. Kan be'emtza kan minatzad. If it's in the middle of the coin, then nobody can play any tricks anymore. But if it's on the side, let's say the perforation on the side, very nice. Some smarty pants, some smart Alec, what he's going to do is going to take, he's going to know, he's going to what? File. He's going to file like this. He's going to basically rub it against the file it. And that hole in the corner will not look like a hole anymore. It will just be, out of the thing. And he'll sell it like a real shekel. It's only eroded a little bit, but a little bit too much. That's exactly what we don't want. So if you want to hang it and have a nice hole in the top or anywhere in the side, that's straight, that's usher. You have to make sure the hole is in the middle where, if the person would erode it down to the middle, then of course it will already be nicker. It's not a way to lie. People will know it's half. You can't lie and say the half is a whole. Maishna weiter in the Mishnah. You 2 more minutes. Ad mosay mutar lehachzir. What did we say? Up until what point are you allowed to return the coin? You are the seller. Let's say you received the coin, and after some time, the question is how much, how long after, you realized, hey, that coin is not that's been eroded, chipped, or whatever you call it. That's not the coin I was looking for. How far? How much time do you have? What's the window of time you have to return the coin and complain and get the coin back and cancel the whole thing and get another coin? Yeah. The krochim in the big towns and the big cities, until you show a banker, enough time to show a banker, enough time that it makes sense a person go down to the bank in the Merkaz Mischari and show it to the banker, show it to people who know about coins. The kforim in the villages, ad al v'shabosas. In the villages, the person who received the bad coin has enough time, much longer, longer window of time until Erev Shabbos. Why? Because that's when they do the Shabbos shopping. By the way, of course, people shop maybe more than once a week if you live in the city. But if you live in a small town or in a village, they would go from the village to the big town, to the market, and make the shopping there for Shabbos. They'll be like the weekly shopping when they go to town. The people live in the suburbs, they go once a week to go to town to do the shopping. That's what they did. You give them enough time until they go to the big city. Maybe sometimes the market comes to them, but the business life is not so alive in kibbutz, whatever. So only once a week, that's when they actually get to show the coin to someone and get a second opinion and get an expert opinion to know whether the coin is good or not so good. Okay, we'll finish here, 10:25, and thank you very much. Thank you for your beautiful blessings. What? No, 12 months, we'll see later. Very good, good memory. 12 months is the chosid, Muslim Shur Sadim. If somebody came to you, gave the bad coin, and a person came to even after 12 months, but you want to be very lifnim mishur sadin, you want to be a big tzaddik, then you can and should lifnim mishur sadin change the coin. But meikar din only up until to go to the bank or up until the next Erev Shabbos. But that will be discussed. That will also be discussed tomorrow. Meretz Hashem. End of the week. Yes, Rabbi Chashuvim. Thank you very much. I want to give everyone a bracha. You know, a person's birthday is a power to give brachas. Give everyone brachas that should be able to tolerate their magichir and be able to grow in Torah and ruchnias of nachas, shefa from the children, grandchildren, everybody. Nachas, shalom bayis, shdosi, dias mashiach tzedken amen. An improved version of this government, even better. We can get even better and see Mashiach soon. Metzia should be zoiche. Tarichos Yomi v'chol tuv selah.